Okay, so Max Boot in the Washington Post, he says that Republicans ought to think about leaving the Republican Party, despite the fact that the Republican Party is currently more conservative than it has been any time in my lifetime in terms of its governance. It could be more conservative. Don't get me wrong. I'm not supremely happy with all aspects of how the Republicans have governed. They haven't taken on entitlement reform. My understanding is they're going to take on welfare reform, which is something that is deeply necessary. But to pretend that this is a party of quote-unquote white nationalism, of deep immorality, again, when Trump says stuff that's immoral, I'm happy to say that I think it's immoral. When I say I'm happy to say, I mean I'm willing to say that it's immoral. I think it is important to say that it is immoral when people do immoral things. But to pretend the entire party is moral because of President Trump seems to me utterly asinine. To pretend everything Trump does is tainted by the touch of Trump is similarly asinine. Now, I guess the counter-argument to this is that if you believe that Trump really is the death of the Republican Party, then everything good that he does contributes to his success, which contributes to the death of the Republican Party. I don't see it that way. I really don't think that that's accurate. I think that the good stuff that President Trump does is good stuff that President Trump does, but this is why it's necessary when President Trump commits heresies for us to sound out on that, for us to spout off and say, listen, that's wrong. Because if we don't, then it is true that Trump will have hijacked the Republican Party in every sense, but I don't think that we can take, we have to take the bad along with the good. I think that we can say this is really good, and a lot of stuff has been really good. Max Boot says, I am more convinced than ever I made the right decision. The transformation I feared has taken place. Just look at the reaction to President Trump's barbarous policy of taking children away from their parents as punishment for the misdemeanor offense of illegally entering the country. And that's not what happened. There was a Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals decision that mandates that when you arrest somebody at the border, you have to remove their children from them. Okay, that is just the reality. But Max Boot suggests that he has thrown up his hands in despair at the debased state of the GOP. I don't want to be identified with the party of the child snatchers. And then he says that these people are political ostriches. He says, what I can't respect are head-in-the-sand conservatives who continue to support the GOP by pretending that nothing has changed. He says, like post-war Germany and Japan, the Republican Party must be destroyed before it can be rebuilt. If this is your perspective on the Republican Party, I think that you are missing the fact that the left in this country is incredibly radical, and you are missing the fact that the Republican Party has not, in fact, been completely taken over by every element that has to do with President Trump. But this sort of crisis mentality isn't just on the right, it is also extending to the left as well, and it's driving everybody mad. Trump's election has driven nearly everybody up a wall. So, on the left, the Democrats have decided to move as radical as humanly possible as well. How do I know? Well, let's take, for example, Michael Avenatti. Now, you may only know Michael Avenatti as the guy who represents porn star Stormy Daniels, who once had sex with Trump and now is claiming that Trump threatened her in some way. Right? Michael Avenatti is famous for being her lawyer. So he's the lawyer of a porn star. That's his entire credential. He now says he wants to run for president of the United States if Donald Trump runs for re-election. Michael Avenatti, who has set up a pup tent over at the CNN headquarters, he appears so often. He actually has set up a fax machine from the CNN green room just so he can do his minor legal work for Stormy Daniels between sending off press releases about immigrant children. He says he wants to run for president. Why? Because Trump is president.
I think I'd be qualified because I have three things that this president lacks, Jim. Brains, heart, and courage. And I think I have those in spades compared to this president.
Didn't you just say brains, smarts, and courage? Is that what you just said? Brains, smart. He has three things: brains, smarts, and courage. Brains and smarts are the same thing. Brains, heart? Okay, brains, heart, and courage. I see. Okay, so he's like, so now he's like the characters in The Wizard of Oz. He's got brains, he's got heart, and he's got courage. He's the Cowardly Lion, he's the Scarecrow, and he's the Tin Man. He literally just named the things that people lack, the characters lack in Wizard of Oz. Brains, heart, and courage. So he went to the wizard all the way in the wonderful city of Oz, and he received all of those things so he could fight the Wicked Witch of the West, Donald Trump. His entire base of credentials is that he represents a porn star. That's everything. That's the entire thing. That he's a lawyer who represents a porn star who stripped the president consensually and then is whining about it after signing a non-disclosure agreement that paid her $130,000, allegedly. So, yeah, this guy's going to run for president. The left may have lost its way a little bit here. Now, there's some folks who are suggesting that I'm giving the left short shrift, that I'm not giving the left enough credit, that really the left has new ideas. Right? It's not just that the left is about identity politics and reaction to Trump, although it seems that their base is. It's not just that the left is ensconced in this view of the United States as deeply nasty and bigoted, and that it's a coalition of the dispossessed, the racially and sexually dispossessed, who are going to come together to swamp the system and destroy the hierarchy. That's me just strawmanning them. That really the left is a party of ideas, that they've hit upon a new way of doing things. And as evidence of this, they have now presented this woman, Ocasio-Cortez, who's first Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I always forget her name because it's kind of long. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, this minor candidate who beat Joe Crowley in New York. This is sort of like if the Republicans had suggested that Dave Bratt, defeating Eric Cantor, Dave Bratt was now going to run for president of the United States. That's basically what the Democrats have done. They're so desperate for direction that they now say that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a 28-year-old former bartender with an econ degree, because apparently an econ degree comes along with the belief that everything is free, that she represents the future of the party. Tom Perez is the head of the DNC. He says that she does. She indeed represents the future of their party.
My daughters, they were both texting me about their excitement over Alexandria because she represents the future of our party. She ran a spirited campaign.
Now, I've been saying this for a long time, is that she represents the future of the party, that Bernie Sanders represents the future of the party. And people have been telling me, apparently on the left, people are upset about this because they say, well, I'm giving short shrift to Bernie Sanders' ideas. I'm not giving short shrift to Bernie Sanders' ideas. I'm giving no shrift to Bernie Sanders' ideas. They're stupid. They've resulted in the destruction of economies all around the world, the destruction of hundreds of millions of lives. The ideas that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is proposing with her brains and her heart and her courage are exactly the same policies that were proposed by Karl Marx 150, 200 years ago, 180 years ago. Okay, and those policies have resulted in the worst suffering in human history. So I'm not sure why I should be giving lengthened shrift just because a good-looking 28-year-old woman from the Bronx is now promulgating these ideas publicly. Well, why should they get any more shrift? In a second, I want to go through some of those ideas that are supposedly going to be earth-shattering, these ideas that are going to cure how everyone thinks in the United States and going to make America a better place. Because I've been told that she is the future of the Democratic Party. I've been told that she is the future of America, indeed. People very excited about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the same people who are excited about Bernie Sanders. I said before that the Democratic Party was split along three lines. There's the Hillary Clinton establishment, folks. There are the people who are the intersectional politicians. And then there was the Bernie Sanders wing. The intersectional politicians and the Bernie Sanders wing have been in a bit of a battle because the Bernie Sanders wing says socialism overcomes all, and the intersectional politics wing says socialism doesn't overcome racism. But it seems like the socialistic wing is winning. And I'm going to talk about some of their brilliant ideas in just a second because there's an article that directly addresses this. First, I want to talk